everybody. We are on session 7 of a journey to stillness. Can't believe we've already passed the halfway mark. So let's begin with today's session. And today's session is such an important session because I think this is happening to us like literally 24/7. We are getting triggered 24/7 and we say, you know, this person triggered me, that person triggered me. So let's try to delve into that. But before that, we'll consolidate and concentrate ourselves and just keep your hands in a namaste, or you can keep your hands on your heart like this, whatever you feel like. I just keep your hand there, close your eyes, and you're going to listen to the sound of the bell. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, you can open your eyes. Okay, so let's begin talking about the triggers, okay? So we all say, so-and-so triggers me. So as much as you would love to say that your mother-in-law is the trigger, your husband is the trigger, your friend is the triggers are on the inside. They are not on the outside. The trigger lies within us. How can they not be our triggers? Aren't they the triggers? So I was listening to this talk by Gabor Mate where he explained triggers so beautifully. He said, in any ammunition, there is a very small button or something there which is called a trigger. When somebody presses it, the ammunition goes out. Okay? So this trigger that we are talking about, somebody has pressed it, no doubt. But where has the explosion happened? The explosion has happened within us. And who is in control of that explosion? It's us. So you see, while other people may push that button for you every now and then, with your understanding, like today what I'm going to share with you, you're going to understand what is the explosion that's happening and why is it happening. Every one of us have experienced some kind of trauma in our lives. There is no doubt. For a very small child, a parent yelling can be a trauma. And sometimes that trauma just stays in our body. It doesn't go away. Okay, so our nervous system is on extra alert. It's just waiting to pick up signals from the environment and say, this is danger, this is danger. And your amygdala, which is the small part in your brain, this is your brain, this is your amygdala. It goes, danger, danger, danger. And that's how you start your explosion. So what I'm here to tell you today is, we have to calm the nervous system for us to be able to manage our trigger, but that calming doesn't happen. This is like an automatic, the button is pressed and the system just gets alerted. It's so automatic. Like, don't you remember moments in your life when you're like, okay, I didn't even think a moment and immediately triggered, you know, immediately I get into the explosion mode, even without our knowledge. So let's look at what's happening. Okay? So a criticism happens. Somebody criticizes you. I'm just taking some random example. Okay, somebody criticizes you. Pema Chedron has explained it so beautifully. She calls it the itch. So the itch, you can't prevent this because your autonomous nervous system has just kicked in to protect you, to take care of you. So this itch starts. She calls, in Buddhism, it's called Shenpa. Your body starts getting tight. You can feel tightness. You can feel tightness over here. You can feel tightness in your chest. You can feel tightness in your shoulders, in your hands. So there it has begun. Person has pressed the button, that's all. They are not done anything beyond that. Everything that happens beyond this is our making. That is where the explosion is happening. So let's see, where is this explosion and how is it happening? So what happens when this itch comes? We start scratching the itch, correct? When we start scratching the itch, it becomes even more. How do we scratch our itch? We can become aggressive. We can start reacting in very many ways. Observing how do you react. I've noticed for myself, where does this trigger take me? The moment it takes you to that place, it may be a place in your life that where you felt wounded or something. It takes you to that wound which is within you, and it starts poking it. The more it pokes, it starts strengthening the wound, and the scratch continues, and the scratching continues to make a big wound. And this wound is what we call as suffering. And then we say that so and so triggered me. So it's your choice, our choice, my choice too, to know whether I want to focus on the trigger, who pressed the trigger, or on the explosion, the wound that it has touched. The moment you start focusing on the wound that it has touched, you will start feeling a lot at ease. You will start seeing that so that is again the sitting with it. So we have a word called refractory period, which we use in the time when we are saying don't itch, that's called the refractory period. And it's started by somebody called Paul Atman. I'll talk about what we do in the refractory period, but I just want to show you a little bit of a diagram, like just to help us out. So this is whatever criticism, whatever has happened, and the Shenpa, the tightness or the itch happens, okay? It has already happened. That we can't, I told you, our autonomous nervous system is in our service. And then that Shenpa is there. But what do? We start with pre-verbal cues. This is an urge to itch. The pre-verbal cue is I want, I don't want, why this person. Then comes the next step. Ooh, this is when we get hooked in. You're done. And I'm so famous for doing this. That's called the story time. So the pre-verbal cues are going on in your head. Then comes the story time. Here you are enmeshed with the Shenpa, means you become one with the Shenpa. You're not seeing it as somebody pressing the button and it happening. You're seeing this person is like this. They always do this. My relationship with is bad. Some story is happening over here, okay? Now, if that story generally continues unless you use the refractory period, and that leads to reactions, full-on screaming, full-on scratching. Once you start making a story, you are scratching the itch, and the story is getting very strong, and you don't even know that you're such a good storyteller in your own head, in your own life. And it doesn't stay in the head sometimes. If there's another human, I think if we are so unconscious, we don't even need a human for us to start talking it loud and saying how bad the other person is. So, tightness, Shenpa, pre-verbal cube, story time, reaction. We want to be compassionate with ourselves. Remember, the trigger is happening and the way our body is reacting is because of our autonomous nervous system, which is on high alert because of some trauma that we have experienced, and that is causing us to do this. So let's be compassionate. In the showing of compassion, we are going to use the refractory period. See, we are all on a different continuum of growth. Maybe all the enlightened beings stop at Shenpa here. Whether you stop at pre-verbal cues, whether you stop at story time or reaction is really, really up to us. We can decide where we want to stop and reflect. So let's see what we do in the refractory period. First of all, you do not act. So that reaction, wherever you stop it, if you stop it even at the last stage of reaction, It's okay. Just stop the reaction right now. Stop the screaming right now. Whatever you're doing, stop it right now. Do not act on it. Do not speak, because this is the worst that can come out when you're in that zone. Be like a log. I love this. Pema Chedron says this. Be like a log, but not dead, Be like a log, aware, alive, and use your breath to self-regulate. You're going to use these two things while you are in the refractory period. Mindfulness, and so important, heartfulness. Do not act, do not speak, be like a log, be aware, and breathe. Cool down, self-regulate through meditation, through introspection, through compassion, through love for yourself. This is so important. I think you cannot love another if you have not loved yourself. So where am I going to focus? On that person who pressed the button, or this person who's creating all the explosion within oneself? Who am I going to focus on? And there's another thing you want to know, that whenever you are triggered, you are in ego. There is ego. And the first step is to acknowledge that. So I'm reading something from The Way of the Bodhisattva by Shanti Deva. This is talking about being a log. And so I like that, and I thought I'll share it with you. Being on the verge of creating a big mess, when the urge arises in the mind of feeling of desire or wrathful hate, do not act, be silent. Do not speak, and like a log of wood, be sure to stay. When the mind is wild with mockery and filled with pride and haughty arrogance, and when you want to show the hidden faults of others, to bring up all dissensions and to act deceitfully, and when you want to fish for praise or criticize or spoil an other's name, or use language sparingly for a fight, it's then that like a log of wood you should remain. And when you yearn for attention, fame, and a circle of admirers serving you, when you look for honors, recognitions, it's then that like a log you should remain. When you want to do another down and cultivate advantage for yourself, when the wish to gossip comes to mind, it's then that like a log you should remain. Impatience, indolence, faint-heartedness, and likewise haughty speech and insolence, attachment to your side, when these arise, it's then like a log that you should remain.